And a very good Tuesday evening. Hi, I'm Gary, ham radio call sign Whiskey 4 Echo Echo Yankee, and you have completed a very long journey through the American Radio Relay League's General Class License Manual. This one, always show the book, it's the 10th edition. We made it all the way through all of the chapters, covering various topics dealing with amateur radio, getting you prepared to upgrade to the general class from the technician class. And what we're going to do tonight is see if we taught anything and if you learned anything. We're going to take some practice tests, kind of like we did at the last half of last week. But before we do that, if you could take the laptop, please, Bruce, I want to do a little ad. So now that you have your general class, almost, you might want to think about upgrading to the amateur extra class. And we will have an amateur extra class coming up in January of 2024. It'll be on Tuesday nights, much like we've had this class, for about 2 hours. And it'll run through April 30th. So it's about 16 weeks long. And it will use the American Radio Relay League Manual 12th edition. That's a bigger book because there are more questions in the question pool. And the extra class test, instead of being 35 questions, it's 50 questions. So there's more to study and more to remember, but it is the very top level of amateur radio license in the United States. So we'd be happy to have you join us for that. Or if you've got somebody in your family or somebody you know who's interested in getting their very first amateur radio license, we'll also have a technician class on Wednesday nights, again starting at 6:30 p.m., running for 2 hours. That class will run for about 10 weeks using the American Radio Relay League Technician License Manual 5th edition. So these two classes will also be streamed live on YouTube. On Tuesday night and on Wednesday night. So if you can't participate in the Zoom classroom because of time or time zones, etc., then you can always watch us on YouTube. If you'd like to be on the mailing list or the class roster, just please send me an email to w4eey@arrl.net if you're interested in being in the Zoom classroom for either of the classes. Or if you want to watch on YouTube and want to make sure you get all the announcements and links, just send me an email and tell me, hey, I'd like to be added to the YouTube list, or I'd like to be included in the Zoom classroom, and I'll add you to the class roster. So tonight we're going to be taking general class practice tests. There we go. I was looking down, it said technician. And what I wanted to point out, Bruce, if you take me away there just for a second, and let me turn on my laser pointer, if I don't lose my cursor. There. So this is from the American Radio Relay League's website. The only number I want you to see on that is 429. There are 429 questions in the question pool, and I said this last week, I'm just going to repeat myself here. If you took a 35 question test, and if you had no repeats on any of the questions, you'd have to take over a dozen practice tests in order to review all of the questions. So 13 practice tests is not too little. You should probably, before you go in to take your exam, have at least 20 practice tests under your belt. And you can do it at the American Radio Relay League site or with apps on your phone. Either one will work. And we're going to do 2 tests tonight, so you can count those. That's fine. If you would, if you're going to play along at home, if you're watching us on YouTube, and there are 7 watching, that's great. Just get out a blank piece of paper, numbered 1 through 35. You can number it as we go, and answer A, B, C, or D. Whichever you think is the correct answer to the question, test question. These are the actual test questions and answers that you will see on your actual test. The answers will be in a different order, however. So don't memorize A, B, C, or D. That's not going to help you. but know what the right answer is and why, and then you'll be all set. So keep calm, and let's begin, and you can do it. So for the test questions, I won't read them, but when we get to the answer section, I will read the test question and the correct answer for those who might be visually impaired. Oh, and one more thing you can do for me to help me out. For those in the Zoom classroom, when you're done marking your answer, if you would just raise your hand briefly, just like that, and then I can see that you're done, and I'll know when to move on to the next question. Also, you can tell me at any time, slow down, Gary, and I will do that for you as well. All right, let's get going. Here is question 1. All right, and here is question 2. And here is question 3.
Is there any way you can make them bigger?
No.
Okay.
I apologize. All right, and here is question 4. And here is question 5. And at the end, we can always go back to go to any questions that you might have missed. All right. And here is question 6. And here is question 7. And here is question 8. It's a pictorial. Which symbol in the figure represents a Zener diode or Zener diode? All right, and question 9. And question 10. And question 11. And question 12. And question 13. And question 14. And question 15. And question 16. And question 17. And question 18. And question 19. And question 20. All right. And question 21. And question 22. Show me a raised hand when you're done. Okay, question 23. And question 24. And question 25. And question 26. And question 27. Question 28. And question 29. And question 30. And question 31. And question 32. All right, and question 33. All right, and question 34. We can always go back to any of these. All right, and question 35. All right, now some folks I saw coming a little late, so I assume maybe the first questions maybe need to be repeated. Nod your head. Okay, what questions would people like to see? Go back on. Wow. Dave, did you want to see any questions?
No.
Okay,
I'm good.
just kidding. All right, well, let's go ahead. How did we do? Let's find out. So you can grade your own paper. You don't need to tell me how you're doing, but let's find out. Here's the answer for one. What is the limit for transmitter power on the 28 megahertz band? 1500 watts PEP, full amateur legal limit 1A. Which of the following narrowband digital modes can receive signals with very low signal-to-noise ratios? That's FT8 2B. When selecting an SSB transmitting frequency, what minimum separation should be used to minimize interference to stations on adjacent frequencies? 2 to 3 kilohertz. I'd prefer 3 kilohertz, please. So 3B. How close to the lower edge of a band's phone segment should your displayed carrier frequency be when using 3 kHz wide lower sideband? At least 3 kHz above the edge of the segment, 4D. And 5, what is meant by the term critical frequency at a given incidence angle? The highest frequency which is refracted back to Earth, 5B. And 6, what is the phase difference between the I and Q RF signals that software-defined radio equipment uses for modulation and demodulation? That's 90 degrees. 6C. And 7, what is the function of an electronic keyer? Automatic generation of dots and dashes for CW operation, 7A. And our pictorial, which symbol is a Zener diode? That's symbol number 5, which is A, so 8A. 9, what does the term zero beat mean in CW operation? Matching the transmit frequency to the frequency of a received signal, 9A. And 10, the frequency allocations of which ITU region apply to radio amateurs operating in North and South America. That's Region 2, because we're in Region 2, so that's 10C. Okay, so mute that, okay? And 11, which of the following is a purpose of a beacon station as identified in the FCC rules? Observation of propagation and reception, 11D. And 12, what sound is heard from an audio device experiencing RF interference from a CW transmitter? On and off humming or clicking, 12A. And 13, which of the following steps must an amateur operator take to ensure compliance with RF safety regulations? Perform a routine RF exposure evaluation and prevent access to any identified high exposure areas, 13A. And 14, which of the following is required when using FT8? Computer time accurate to within approximately 1 second, 14A. And 15, what is an advantage of vertically stacking horizontally polarized Yagi antennas? It narrows the main lobe in elevation, 15A. And 16, what portion of the 10-meter band is available for repeater use? That's the portion above 29.5 megahertz, 16D. And 17, why do voltmeters have high input impedance? It decreases the loading on circuits being measured, 17B. And 18, what is the total resistance of a 10, 20, and 50 ohm resistors connected in parallel? Remember, it's lower than the lowest one, but not drastically so. So it's 5.9 ohms in this case, 18C. And which of the following statements is true of Vox operation, which is voice-operated switching, versus PTT, or push-to-talk operation? Vox operation allows hands-free operation, 19C. I'm going to push the mute all button because somebody's coughing. All right, how many watts are consumed when a current of 7 milliamperes flows through a 1,250 ohm resistance? So you could get your calculator out and do the math, and you'd find the answer is approximately 61 milliwatts, 20C. And 21, Why is it good to match receiver bandwidth to the bandwidth of the operating mode? It results in the best signal-to-noise ratio, 21C. And 22, what does LUF stand for? That is the lowest usable frequency for communications between two specific points, 22D. And 23, what are the operating points for a bipolar transistor used as a switch? Saturation and cutoff, 23C. And 24, what is one disadvantage of using a shortened mobile antenna as opposed to a full-size antenna? The operating bandwidth may be very limited, 24B. And 25, which of the following describes the function of a two-input AND gate? Output is high only when both inputs are high, 25D. And 26, how is long-distance radio communication usually affected by the charged particles that reach Earth from solar coronal holes? Remember, it's disturbed. High-frequency communication is disturbed, 26A. And 27, which of the following is an advantage of CMOS integrated circuits compared to TTL integrated circuits? They have lower power consumption, 27B. And 28, what procedure may be used by volunteer monitors to localize a station whose continuous carrier is holding a repeater on in their area? Compare beam headings on the repeater input from their home locations with that of other volunteer monitors. It's radio direction finding, 28A. And 29, which of the following can be adjusted to optimize forward gain, front-to-back ratio, or SWR bandwidth of a Yagi antenna? All of those, the physical length of the boom, the spacing of each element along the boom, and the number of elements on the boom, 29C. And 30, what is a link budget? It is the sum of transmit power and antenna gains minus system losses as seen at the receiver, 30A. And 31, what occurs in an LC circuit at resonance? Inductive reactance and capacitive reactance cancel, 31B. And 32, where should lightning arresters be located? Where the feed lines enter the building, 32C, and preferably on the outside wall. And 33, what is the approximate length for a quarter wave monopole antenna cut for 28.5 megahertz? So you could take 468 divided by 28.5, and that would give you the half wavelength, and then divide that by 2, and you find the answer is 8 feet, 33D. 34, what is the effect of transmission line loss on SWR measured at the input to the line? Higher loss reduces the SWR measured at the input to the line. It makes things look better, 34C. And 35, how long is a certificate of successful completion of exam valid for exam element credit? And the answer is 1 year, 365 days, 35D. So check your paper. Did you have 26 correct? That's no more than 9 wrong answers. If so, you passed. So what we're going to do right now is take a 5-minute break, get up and move around, stretch, and we'll do this one more time, and then the class will be over. This is the last class. So let's take 5 minutes here, and we'll be right back. And we are back. Yay! So I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that if you've got questions after we've taken the test about any of the questions, feel free to unmute yourself and come in. This is probably the last opportunity you're going to have. Although I'm always here for you, as is Dave, so you can always email us with any questions or comments or whatever about any particular issue if you're having trouble understanding something. We're here for you. If we need to have a one-on-one Zoom session or a phone call on the cell phone or whatever, we're happy to do that because we want you to get your upgrade. And then we want you to upgrade to extra class. And so we're here. All right, so let's go ahead and start with practice test number 3, which, there we are. And they're numbered this way because we had practice test 1 last week. We just did practice test 2. So here is practice test number 3 using the current question pool. If you find any of my old practice tests online, they're from the previous question pool. So these are the ones you want to be using. Again, we'll take a blank sheet of paper numbered 1 through 35. And as always, I ask you please to keep calm. And let's begin. Here we are with question number 1. And if you would just raise your hand if your camera's on when you're done with the question. All right. And question 2. And question 3. And question 4. And a few more words on this one. Question 5. And we can always go back to any question. And question 6. And question 7. And question 8. And question 9. And question 10. And question 11. And question 12. And question 13. And question 14. If I need to slow down, just unmute and tell me so. And question 15. And question 16. And question 17. And question 18. And question 19. And question 20. And question 21. And question 22. And here is question 23. And question 24. And here is question 25. And question 26. And question 27. All right, and question 28. And question 29. And question 30. And question 31. And question 32. And question 33. And question 34. And finally, question 35. So are there any questions you'd like me to go back to? You can see again, just unmute and tell me the number.
How about 1? I started late.
Okay, no problem. We can go all the way back. I don't have a quick way to do it, so I have to do it this way. Okay, there's question number 1.
How about 4?
And question number 4. When you're taking the test, on your own, of course, you have no time constraints. You're under control of yourself there.
Number 5. Sorry, I've got.
Oh, you're fine. That's fine. That's what we're doing. Here's 5.
$14.
I heard 14. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Any other questions?
29.
29. There we go. Anything else?
31.
31. There we go.
How about 33?
Sure. There's 33. And if I jumped off of 31 too soon, just let me know. I can go back.
No, I saw what I wanted.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, 34, and then I'm good.
Oh, you're fine. It doesn't
I
matter.
will have missed things.
Yep,
This
you're
one.
no, because we skipped
Okay.
through it. There's a lot of words, a lot of reading. Okay, is there anything else? Take practice tests on your own as often as you can using the ARRL website or an app on your phone. These will become second nature to you so that sometimes you won't even have to think. You'll look at the question and go, oh, I know the answer to that already. And we did have some repeats this time from the previous tests, so you might have remembered those. Well, let's go ahead and see how we did with answer number 1. How does a capacitor react to AC? As the frequency of the applied AC increases, the reactance decreases. 1B.
Blows up.
No. What is the purpose of a corona ball on an HF mobile antenna? To reduce RF voltage discharge from the tip of the antenna while transmitting. 2B. 3. What is the term for interference from a signal at twice the IF frequency from the desired signal? This is in a superheterodyne radio. That's called image response, or an image interference. 3A. And 4, why is the primary winding of a voltage step-up transformer usually larger size than that of the secondary winding? To accommodate the higher current of the primary. Power transfer will be the same, but there's going to be more current on the low voltage side, so 4C. I'm just going to push mute there. All right, 5. Which of the following describes the function of a 2-input AND gate? The output is high only when both inputs are high. 5A. 6. Which of these functions is performed by software in a software-defined radio? All of them. Filtering, detection, modulation. 6C. And 7. Which of the following can be adjusted to optimize forward gain, front-to-back ratio, or SWR bandwidth of a Yagi antenna? Again, all of these. The physical length of the boom, the spacing of each element along the boom, and the number of elements on the boom. So 7C. 8. What is the approximate length for a half-wave dipole antenna cut for 14.25 megahertz? 33 feet. 8C. And 9. What is a possible cause of high voltages excuse me, that produce RF burns? Well, in your shack, the ground wire has a high impedance on that frequency. 9C. And 10. What is indicated on a waterfall display by one or more vertical lines on either side of a data mode or RTTY signal? It's indicative of overmodulation. 10A. And 11, what is the maximum height above ground for an antenna structure not near a public use airport? 200 feet. If we go higher than that, then we have to notify the FAA and FCC. So 11A. 12, what license examinations may you administer as an accredited volunteer examiner holding a general class license? Technician only. 12B. And 13, what signals are used to conduct a two-tone test? two non-harmonically related audio signals. 13C. And 14, which of the following is characteristic of a switch mode power supply as compared to a linear power supply? High frequency operation allows the use of smaller components. That's why switching power supplies are lightweight. 14C for the same current rating. 15, what is near vertical incident skywave propagation? Short distance, medium frequency, or high frequency propagation at high elevation angles. 15B. And 16, what standing wave ratio results from connecting a 50 ohm feed line to a 200 ohm resistive load? That's 4 to 1. Remember, the big number is always first. So 16C. And 17, what is the RMS voltage of a sine wave with a value of 17 volts peak? That would be 12 volts RMS, 17B. And 18, how is a directional antenna pointed when making a long path contact with another station? 180 degrees from the station's short path heading. 18C. And 19, when general class licensees are not permitted to use the entire voice portion of a band, which portion of the voice segment is available to them? The upper frequency portion. 19C. And 20, what is the maximum power limit on the 60 meter band? An effective radiated power, or ERP, of 100 watts peak envelope power with respect to a dipole antenna. 20D. And 21, the frequency allocations of which ITU region apply to radio amateurs operating in North and South America? We are in ITU Region 2, 21A. And 22, which of the following are the least reliable bands for long-distance communications during periods of low solar activity, low sunspots? 15, 12, and 10 meters. 22D. And what is the purpose of an antenna tuner? To increase power transfer from the transmitter to the feed line. Antenna tuners make your transmitter happy about things, so 23D. And 24, which of the following is a danger from lead tin solder? Remember what your mama said, lead can contaminate food if hands are not washed carefully after handling the solder. 24A, wash your hands. And 25, which of the following is good amateur practice for net management? Have a backup frequency in case of interference or poor conditions. 25C. And 26, which of the following is a way to determine current propagation on a desired band from your station? You can use a network of automated receiving stations on the internet to see where your transmissions are being received. 26D. 27, how do you join a contact between two stations using the PACTOR protocol? Short answer is you can't. Joining an existing contact is not possible. PACTOR connections are limited to 2 stations. 27A. And 28, which of the following phone emissions uses the narrowest bandwidth? Single sideband. 28A. Whoops. 29, which of the following describes a type N connector? N connectors are moisture-resistant RF connectors useful to 10 gigahertz. 29D. And 30, what is the effect of an incorrectly adjusted speech processor? All of these. Distorted speech, excessive background noise, and excessive intermodulation products, also known as splatter. They used to have the question has splatter. So all of those things can happen if you incorrectly adjust a speech processor. 30D. And 31, what must you do if an evaluation of your station shows that the RF energy radiated by your station exceeds permissible limits? Take action to prevent human exposure to the excessive RF fields. 31D. And 32, what does the Q signal QRV mean? It means I'm ready to receive or ready to operate. 32C. And 33, why do most amateur stations use a lower sideband on the 160, 75, and 40 meter bands? It is commonly accepted amateur practice. 33A. And a side note, 75 meters, I just want to point out that the question here is 75 meters. That's the upper frequency portion of the 80 meter band. 80 meters is so wide that it's also known as 75 meters. And 34, which of the following antenna types will be most effective as a near vertical incident skywave antenna for short skip communications on 40 meters during the day? That would be a horizontal dipole placed between 1/10 and 1/4 wavelength above the ground, not very high up. 34D. And 35, which of the following is a characteristic of low voltage ceramic capacitors? They're cheap, comparatively low cost. 35D. All right, again, you need to have 26 correct, no more than 9 wrong, and you will have passed. So how do you think you did? Smiles? Thumbs up? Well, keep taking tests, have your actual exam scheduled and ready to go. Are there any questions from anyone before we leave tonight? All right, I just want to point out that the classes are always free, but we do have expenses. And if someone would like to donate to us, there is a PayPal donate button on my website here, w4eey.com. Any amount would be greatly appreciated and always is used only for the production of new classes or new videos. If you want to mail me something, my address is good on QRZ. And if you'd like to email me, my email address here is w4eey@arrl.net, especially if you're interested in the upcoming extra class. And with that, any final comments before we go?
Just thank you.
All righty. Well,
Thank you, gentlemen.
let me know how you do.
Thank you.
Let Dave know too. And Dave, any final comments?
It's just been wonderful working with you all. This has been a terrific class. So thank you so much for your participation and interest.
Well, we want to thank y'all too. We couldn't do it without you and Dave, and Gary and Dave.
Well, we're proud of you. So
That's for sure.
just keep going. You can do it. I know you can. All right. 73, y'all. See you on the
73.
bands.
73. Thank you.
Hey, Gary, what was the